So the big question is, how is it that people aren't appreciating how valuable milk is? And why is breastfeeding not the absolute preferred method of feeding? Part of the problem is chemists, have looked at milk from a purely simple chemical perspective. What are the proteins, what are the fats, what are the vitamins and the minerals? And milk has been viewed as a simple bag of chemicals. And if you look at milk from that perspective, then it's easy to replace it. And formula is, in essence, a mixture of all those vitamins and minerals. The problem is, milk is so much more than just delivering the essential nutrients. And this dimension of feeding specific bacteria, what a wonderful idea emerging from the evolution of lactation, that mothers recruit this other life form to babysit their babies. You have to have a specific food for the right bacteria to get this to happen. And that's exactly what human breast milk does, but nothing else comes close. The other thing that makes milk so unusual is it's dynamic. To call it milk does a huge disservice to this very dynamic system of mothers communicating to their baby all day, every day. It changes with, in essence, each day of the baby's development. There are things that are in milk that are guiding the baby's metabolic development, immunological development, physiological, even cognitive development. Mothers even teach babies the smells of the foods that they're eating so they learn to like those foods. So just an amazing system. And if you think of it just as a bag of chemicals, not a good idea. Is breast milk a good food for everyone? That's a wonderful question. We've been studying the science from the perspective of the mechanisms by which it works. Because there's some things that are effective in babies at a particular window of time, and that dimension, that those components are particularly suited to the baby at that time. And they wouldn't even work in that baby at a later stage of development. But as we understand mechanisms by which milk works, then we can say that would help someone else. So one example is milk is full of enzymes that help it to be digested, especially proteases. So milk is helping the baby digest proteins. Turns out we should have learned from that. Proteins are difficult to digest at any age, especially when you're ill and as you age. So if you can't digest a protein, it doesn't vanish. It continues down, and then it begins actually to fuel inappropriate enteropathogenic proteobacteria in your intestine. Not something you'd like to do. So how do you stop this? Just do what your mother's done. Have protease enzymes in the food appropriate for the proteins that you're consuming. So we didn't take the enzymes from milk and put them in foods. We recognize there are enzymes in milk, and we can take enzymes from other places, but get them into the foods of people who are particularly, in essence, incapable of digesting proteins normally. Milk is informing us, but it's not providing the actual ingredients. We learned that feeding a selective group of bacteria in a baby is wonderfully protective of babies. We should all have that. We should all be, in essence, inoculated and be feeding appropriate bacteria in us. We should be digesting better, and milk can help us with that. At particular points in the day, fueling activity is good, and then quieting down is good. Milk helps babies get active in the morning and settle down and sleep at night. So the more you look at milk, the more you realize the principles of nourishment that milk teaches us is valuable for everybody.